A call from the other world. A first-hand account from the year 1944. At the time, I was working as a village doctor. My name is Dr. Henry Whitmore. I was nearing the age of 30. The war hadn't ended yet, but people like us weren't on the front lines. We were busy with the lives of those left behind. My little chamber was located in the outskirts of Essex. Back then, it wasn't the developed area it is today. It was mostly open fields, scattered villages, an old church or two, and quiet settlements along the riverbanks. I wasn't a renowned physician, nor a surgeon from any prestigious hospital. But the people who came to me knew one thing. I listened. I prescribed less medicine and gave more care. Serving people was never just a profession to me. It felt more like a duty, a personal vow. Common fevers and colds, minor cuts and bruises, childhood illnesses, caring for expectant mothers. These were the things that filled my days. And so, my life went on, day by day, just like that. A first-hand account by Dr. Henry Whitmore. One night, after finishing up all my usual duties, I was just about to close up my little chamber. My hands ached slightly. The day had been long, filled with patients, prescriptions, and endless walking. Just then, the old landline phone in the corner rang. I picked up the receiver, and on the other end, a man's voice, trembling, barely holding it together, said, "Doctor, please, my father is very ill. Can you come quickly?" I replied, "All right, give me the address." He did. It was a location I vaguely recognized, somewhere more than 10 kilometers away, on the far edge of Essex. I hesitated. That's a long way to travel, especially at night. So I asked, "Can't you call a local doctor?" The man said, "There aren't any doctors here, sir, and those nearby, none of them are willing to come to our village." That caught me off guard. Not willing to come? Why not? But I didn't press. I simply said, "All right, I'm coming." I grabbed my old leather medical bag, packed with the basic tools I always carried. Then I took my bicycle, my trusted companion on countless such visits. Truth be told, I didn't feel like going. Something deep down made me hesitate. But still, duty is duty. And so, I pedaled into the dark, heading toward an unknown address, and into something I never could have expected. I had never been to that village before. No one from that direction had ever called me. Even when I visited patients, they were usually from nearby areas. But someone from that far calling me, this was the first time. Still, I had given my word, so there was no turning back. I quietly took my bicycle and set out. The road was narrow and deserted, with layers of mist hanging in the air. All around was silence, only the sound of the bicycle wheels and the light clinking of the pedals. I passed one village, then another. The houses were dark. I saw one or two people here and there, perhaps someone finishing up some late work. But most homes were completely still. Everything seemed normal, until I reached that village. The one people referred to as Elmridge. That wasn't its real name, just a nickname, because many believed even saying the real name was unlucky. And this is where things started to feel strange. As I entered the village, I noticed that almost every house had lights on. At such a late hour, that shouldn't have been the case. There was no festival or special occasion, and the houses weren't lit brightly. They glowed with a dull, yellowish light, casting a strange, suffocating heaviness across the village. Even so, I didn't stop. I kept riding my bicycle through the winding roads, looking for the house based on the address I was given. The streets were a bit hazy and oddly curved, but I kept moving forward. Finally, I found the house. Then I entered the house. Inside, everything seemed fine. Old, but neat. Nothing looked out of place. I checked the patient. He was elderly, barely breathing. Someone nearby turned up the light slightly so I could see better. I checked his pulse, observed his condition, and gave him a few medicines. And I wrote down a few more on a prescription. Those needed to be bought and given as soon as possible. Until this point, everything felt normal. But then suddenly, a thought crossed my mind. Where would they get these medicines from? I asked. One of the people sitting nearby said, "Give it to me, sir. I'll go get them." He took the prescription and went outside. I thought, since it's so late at night, no pharmacy would be open. And in such a remote place, shops are rare anyway, so it would probably take him a while. But I was shocked when I saw. Within just a few moments, he came back inside with all the medicines. Everything, exactly as written, neatly packed. I didn't say anything. I quietly placed the medicine by the patient and sat silently. I didn't express anything out loud, but deep inside, a strange discomfort was growing. Anyway, I told them how and when to give the medicine, and then I stepped outside. Once outside, I saw that my bicycle's tire had lost all its air. The back wheel was completely flat. There was no way to ride it. I looked around, no shop in sight, and no people either. At that hour, it wasn't even possible to ask anyone for help. And thinking about dragging the cycle all that distance, it made me feel exhausted just imagining it. So I decided to leave the bicycle there. I'd come back in the morning and get it fixed with someone from nearby. I slung my bag over my shoulder and began to walk. As I was walking toward the road, I saw a van approaching. I told the van driver, "Could you please drop me off a bit ahead? It's quite a long walk from here." He looked at me and said, "I can take you, but just so you know, I'm carrying a corpse with me. Hope you won't be scared." I paused for a moment, but composed myself and replied, "No, that's not a problem." He smiled and said, "Right, of course, you're a doctor after all." That startled me, because I hadn't told him I was a doctor. I was wearing ordinary clothes, and all my medical tools were packed inside my bag. So how did he know? Still, I didn't say anything and got on the van. The van slowly began to move. Dead silent night, bushes along the road, and the occasional bark of a dog in the distance. Suddenly, he turned and said, "Sir, I have a request. On the way, we'll pass by my wife's place. She's been quite ill the last few days. If you could take a quick look at her, I'd be ever so grateful." I really didn't feel like going, but since he was helping me so much, and I was a doctor, I couldn't turn away from my duty. So I said, "All right, take me there." Right then, I suddenly heard shouting and screaming from behind us. Startled, I asked, "What's all that noise about at this hour?" He paused, then smiled and said, "Oh, nothing, just the village folks. Old drunks yelling around at night. Nothing serious." He said nothing more and kept driving. After a little while, we arrived in front of an old wooden house. The driver said, "This is my wife's house. Please come inside, sir." I got down and followed him in. As soon as I entered, a damp, musty smell hit my nose. Old wood, wet cloth, and something burning. I couldn't place the scent exactly. On the right, there was a small bed. Someone was lying there, covered completely in a white sheet. The driver pointed and said, "There she is, sir. Please take a look." I slowly walked closer. I pulled the cloth aside. It was a corpse, and clearly, she had been dead for quite some time. Her body's condition made that obvious. I looked at the van driver and said, "She's already dead." The man didn't flinch. He calmly replied, "So what, sir? Just give her some medicine." "Please, doctor, sir, just a little medicine." I snapped back. "Are you mad? How can I give medicine to someone who's already dead?" But he didn't stop. "You gave her some just a while ago." I stared at him. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Main point, the woman I was brought to treat, the van driver's wife, was already dead long before I got there. But still, he kept asking me to give her medicine. Then the van driver suddenly said, "Sir, the patient you treated a little while ago, he was dead too. His body is also in my van." I froze. Without saying another word, I rushed to the van. And yes, it was true. There, on one side of the van, lay a corpse wrapped in a white cloth. And that body was none other than the exact same man I had just treated moments ago. It felt like lightning struck inside my head. My throat dried up. My hands and feet began to shake. I still couldn't believe it. Had I really just given medicine to a dead man? But this body, it had clearly been dead for at least 2 to 3 days. And yet, just moments ago, I had seen this same man alive, talking to me, responding, asking for help. My head was spinning, and right then, the group of people who had been shouting earlier also arrived. All of them were dressed in plain white clothes. They came straight to me and said, "You have to come with us now." The van driver stepped in and said, "No, not yet. He still has to see my wife." And that's when they started arguing among themselves. It was growing intense. I finally blurted out, "Are you people also trying to take me to see a corpse?" They didn't answer a single one of my questions. Their eyes were not those of living humans, but rather shrouded in a strange darkness and emptiness. From their faces came a feeling as if they did not belong to this world, as if they had come from some other realm. In an instant, I realized that what was happening was not normal at all. This was no ordinary event. Everything felt paranormal, evil, the work of an unseen force. My heartbeat quickened. I started breathing heavily. My mind felt like it was breaking apart. There was no way I could stay here any longer. All I could think about was running away. Yet there was no sound around. I couldn't see any direction. Complete darkness spread in every direction, and my feet ran swiftly through the engulfing blackness. I felt like someone was following me, but I didn't dare look back. With every moment, my fear of losing my life grew. After much effort, trembling with fear, I finally managed to escape from that village. Then, exhausted and terrified, I took shelter in the home of ordinary people in another village. There I found a moment of silence. But the terror and anxiety inside me remained unbroken. My mind was not at peace. Even closing my eyes, the images of that fear spun relentlessly in my mind. The next morning, I finally learned the truth about that village, the one I had gone to the night before. All of its residents had died years ago from a terrifying epidemic. The disease was highly contagious. Due to extreme poverty, no one could afford proper treatment, and not a single doctor had dared to go help them. Since then, people say, that village wakes up again late at night. Strange calls go out to nearby doctors, just like the one I had received. This is why now, no doctor travels toward that village after dark. And if someone does get a call, they never respond, no matter what. In the morning, I went back to get my cycle, taking some locals with me. But when we reached the village, it was nothing like it was at night. A barren land, broken houses, silent winds, nothing but emptiness and ruin. Dust crunched beneath our feet. The air hung heavy, and memories from the previous night rattled deep inside my bones. I don't know what I saw that night. I don't know who those people were, or whose corpse was being carried in that van. But even now, some nights, when I suddenly wake up in the dark, I still hear that voice echo in my ears. Doctor, sir, please, just a little medicine. Did you enjoy the story? Let us know in the comments. And if you liked it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Horror Dream. Want more stories like this? Subscribe to The Horror Dream, and we'll bring you more darkness just for you. If you enjoy a little chill down your spine, stick around. Like, share, and hit that subscribe button right here on The Horror Dream. Your support keeps us going, so stay with us. Subscribe to The Horror Dream for more spine-tingling tales.